Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Cryptocurrency Daily. Today is February 20th.
We have a special episode for you today. We have Paul Schmitzer, the Director of Operations for Particl with the Part Coin, P-A-R-T. Paul, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on.
So Eli 5, what's Particl?
So Particl, it's a privacy platform built on the blockchain. It's basically a place where you can buy or sell, send, or communicate in private. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make a platform that is decentralized, and it makes it a lot, 10 times harder making it private, but that's what we're trying to do. We have a currency, which is the Part coin, and it's a privacy coin. And we're building a utility on top of it, which is the Particl Marketplace, which is coming out. It's a decentralized marketplace. And within there, we'll have communication tools, end-to-end encryption, and all of that together is built on the Particl privacy platform. So we're trying to essentially build a decentralized economy. That's sort of the vision, is to make a decentralized, trustless economy where you can have peer-to-peer, not just in currency, but in communication and commerce without any third parties.
What separates Particl from other cryptos out there that are leveraging blockchain technologies in the P2P space?
For one, Particl is more than just currency. So a lot of projects that are on the blockchain are just currencies. So all they're doing is basically the same thing that Bitcoin was created to do, with maybe some different treatments on top of it. So privacy, obviously is what we're doing. So we thought that building just another privacy currency, there's not much use to that. So we really wouldn't do something like that. There's lots of options for that. So with Particl, we're actually trying to build a platform, privacy platform, built in there has the currency, but on top of that, there's a utility, which is basically the decentralized marketplace. That kind of separates us. Maybe about 90% of the projects out there, maybe more, are just currency based. Once you start adding utility onto it, it's a little different. So the Particl Marketplace we're building, that'll be a decentralized privacy marketplace. And really, it's just a place that actually other currencies can use to buy and sell in private on the marketplace. And then on top of that, in the future, ultimately, we'd like to, be a full platform where we have a developer kit and people can build apps on top of the privacy and leverage some of the privacy that we built. So when it comes to privacy, if you're comparing what Particl does to some of the other privacy coins that are in the space, in the P2P space, Particl's built on Bitcoin. We're actually built on the latest Bitcoin. We always stay up to date with whatever that development team develops. So usually within about a week, we're up to date with whatever their latest version is, just for security. What we do is we're not competing with Bitcoin. We're actually a complement to Bitcoin. So we stay up to date. And then on top of that, we put privacy on top of that. So we're the only project that has confidential transactions on Bitcoin code base. And we're the only team that has Ring CT, which is actually developed by Monero, Shin No Ether, from Monero Labs. It's what Monero uses all the time as a default for privacy. They're built on CryptoNote. We actually took the same research and put it onto Bitcoin. So we're the only project that has that as well. So in our mind, that's top level privacy that you can do. If you're really going to try to hide amounts, basically blind amounts between people, confidential transactions, probably the best thing out there right now. So we have that already since launch. And then if you're going to hide addresses and blind all of that, adding ring signatures onto that, which is what Ring CT is, we feel like that's the best way to do it. So that's sort of a privacy enhancement we have, that we were the first to do it on Bitcoin, and we're the only team with the most current Bitcoin that has that on top of it.
Yeah, when it comes to privacy and confidentiality, I think you guys really hit the nail on the head. And obviously, that's something that a ton of people in the cryptocurrency space really value. So I think that you guys really set yourselves apart that way. You touched on the marketplace. I saw that there's a video on your website that briefly discusses it. Now, how does Part enable a user to spend other cryptocurrencies? I know that you kind of mentioned that. I'm just trying to get a little clarification on how exactly does that work?
Yeah, so the Particl Marketplace, we thought it'd be, the same way with trying to build a project and just doing a currency didn't make a lot of sense. The same thing with, if we're going to build a decentralized marketplace that's supposed to, encourage sort of a anonymous economy, where you buy, sell, and earn tokens, which forms the economy, to have it just set for one currency didn't make a lot of sense. So one of our core values is crypto agnostic, which means basically that we're open for everybody. All the other blockchain blockchains that are out there. What we want to do is create a privacy marketplace that's peer-to-peer that other projects it's a use case for other coins. So the way we do that is a couple ways. So one is atomic swaps, which, we've teamed up with the Cred project and a number of others. There's maybe 8 or 10 now that have worked on-chain atomic swaps. So that's one way that users would be able to say, bring Bitcoin. If you have Bitcoin to spend, you come over to the marketplace, you come into our app that has the marketplace built in, and you figure out what you want to buy and contact the seller. And then, you could spend your Bitcoin on there and that would be processed in atomic swaps, where basically it swaps out for Particl. The transaction goes through Particl's. The part coin is the fuel on the privacy platform. So that works with the multi-signature escrow, two-party escrow, and that kind of, makes the transaction go through. So it's instant, it would be instantly swapped out for Particl, and then that would be what continues the transaction. So the person selling would actually get Particl that way, not the Bitcoin. Then there's other options too. There's ways to integrate third-party options like Shapeshift or Changely or something like that already have, Particl's not on that right now, but, we're in discussion with those guys to be able to, if Particl was part of, Shapeshift or Changely, then we could, use that to swap out whatever coins are on those apps and be able to, shift those as well. It's really just a use case, not only for there's intrinsic value and, reasons for having Particl. It's not, having a marketplace that has other coins doesn't automatically make part useless or not as special. In our mind, it makes it more special because there's a reason for it to be, in existence, to be able to process everything. So just being able to have that use case for all the coins, I think is a, real big selling point for the marketplace, and to be able to do that all in private. So, that's one of the cool things with our marketplace, is that you could spend whatever coin you have, come and spend it at the marketplace.
That's another area that I think really kind of separates you guys from everybody else. It makes the user experience very seamless. So that'll be really neat to see, how it takes off. So I noticed that you guys do have a fairly large team. How did such a talented group of people come together? I did a little bit of research on LinkedIn and saw a lot of really impressive accomplishments or achievements in a lot of people's backgrounds. How did you really gather? How did this group come together?
The group was around probably since 2013, 2014. And a lot of the team, our team's a lot bigger now, but a lot of the original team from the Shadow Project formed together just, organically, just in the space, like everything was forming back then. And that project was started by Rhino Matthew, and he basically wanted to create a token that revolved around like a shadow finance. I can't remember exactly what it was about, but anyway, that group of people they formed the Shadow Project, and that project was a privacy project back then. That was sort of a popular thing that was starting to be formed with Monero the same time, and Darkcoin was then. So the team actually is a global team. So we are all over the place, all different time zones. And a lot of these guys, even since 3 or 4 years ago, a lot of these guys really haven't met in person. We meet all the time, almost daily. And we do this all through the internet. We're able to work remotely. And that's been going on for a number of years. But a lot of folks haven't actually met each other. So Rhino's based in South Africa. And there's probably a group of 4 or 5 of our developers that are also based there. So some of those guys all work in one office there. I think there's 3 or 4 possibly that work in that office, but the rest of us are all kind of all over the place. I think a lot of the draw initially was the privacy aspect of it. We've always been fans of Bitcoin. I think a lot of us are diehard Bitcoin folks. We got into it for the technology, and probably secretly some of us are Bitcoin maximalists, in a way. We like, obviously, we're working on Particl, but, Particl's a little different. We're not a competitor. We're a more private Bitcoin, I guess. So I think that draw of doing a privacy currency brought a lot of folks in. And then ultimately, when that project was starting trying to pursue doing a marketplace, that also brought some more folks in. So all of that was voluntary. And then, obviously we decided we met up with a couple high profile startup advisors and different folks like that, and kind of worked out a way where if we were really going to make this project successful and what we really wanted to do, we needed to kind of abandon that project for a number of reasons. The biggest one is the code base, is based on an old code base. And we needed something more secure, something that was scalable, something that we could revamp the privacy. That project used a different type of privacy than the one we're doing now. Just a whole number of reasons. The name actually had some, it's the same reason Darkcoin kind of rebranded to Dash. It was cool at first, but to, be that secret sort of, it was like the original reason why a lot of people got into Bitcoin, that whole privacy and anonymous sort of mentality. But, there's also branding aspect to projects and different things like that. So, we had to think about that too. But so ultimately we formed Particl, and it's a different code base and different privacy. And actually some of that team stayed, some of that team was involved in other projects. And so they're busy with that. And we've grown since that. So our team's it's about half of it we have about 21 people. I think 12 are developers, 12 of those guys, and they're all full-time developers. Nine of the 12 are full-time. 3 of them are part-time, and they all vary in different things. So we've got one guy who's Ludex, who's our back-end guy, and he's developing the whole marketplace back-end, the way that interacts with everything and works and is scalable, and that he's working on the dApp shell repository on GitHub. And he's kind of looking over a couple developers helping him with that. And then we have our whole front end, which is a number of developers that are doing, they're building it all in Electron and Angular, which is, special in the space. It's kind of what all the apps like, Skype or Slack or any of those are built on. And, they got a number of guys there. So we have a mix of designers and developers. And then on the front end, we've got guys like Rhino, who's, we have a number of entrepreneurs on the team. Rhino has had a few companies, and he's done a number of crypto projects. And so he kind of heads up. He's sort of the architect of the whole project. Technoverts are sort of anonymous lead core developer. So he's the guy that's doing all the hard stuff, the cutting edge stuff, like the confidential transactions and ring CT and all that stuff, and prefers to always remain anonymous. He's active on our team channels, but he's, really kind of, just values his privacy. So we don't talk too much about him, but everybody can see what he does on the GitHub. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, it's just a real big mix of guys, and we're just global. And actually, the first time we're going to meet is actually in this meetup we're going to do in Zurich. So first time some of us are meeting each other in person after 3 or 4 years of working together. So.
That's definitely common in this space, especially. You get the tinfoil hats from time to time, and it's certainly amusing and understandable at the same time. So you did touch on the team there. Now, what's a workday in the life of a Particl employee like? I imagine that it's obviously, based on what you said, very remote. Do you use project management tools? How does that work?
Yeah, so we are remote. We use a number of project management tools. So we use G Suite for a lot of keeping our emails and calendars and, just tasks and everything up to date. Our main development and marketing and just project in general timeline and is all run on sprints through Jira. And we use that as a platform to kind of keep everything on track. We roadmap out everything and then plug it into there. We have a project manager who's actually not from the crypto space. We brought him on specifically. He's a past acquaintance of Rhino who, was just really good at keeping people on task and getting the project done, and he had very little history in the crypto space, but he's our project manager on the whole project and has been really organized through Jira. And the marketing team, we use Trello a lot. We have a number of boards where we can basically just throw ideas out. It's like Post-it system, and we just throw ideas and we kind of move them between tabs of what we want to do, either events or, big contests or marketing pushes or roadmap stuff we want to do, and we can kind of slide them along, add stuff, add them to calendars, and all that stuff can be done on the fly. You can actually see people moving things around when you're inside of it. We used to be big fans of Hackpad before it became Dropbox Paper, but the same way, it's just, we use Google Docs or Dropbox Paper to write out stuff that we're working on. Typically, if I'm writing a blog post, we try to keep it real open. So I'm not going to say I'm ever the expert on certain things. And especially with writing and content, you want to make sure you're saying the story the best way. So usually I'll write up a draft in a shareable doc and start, writing what I'm doing and invite everybody that wants to just come in, and usually get, folks that are making comments and changing stuff around on the fly. Even stuff you just wrote, someone could come in and, modify it. So it's real helpful. It's a way we were able to, just those kind of tools helped us feel like we're in an office without being in an office. I feel like, I guess if we were all in an office, I think if any project's in an office, there might be a little more efficiency, obviously, because we could talk side by side and do that kind of stuff. But there's enough tools out there where a global team like this, where we're just sharing all kinds of things. If you find the right tools, you can basically be pretty efficient and get what you need to get across, even when it comes to hard stuff like either development things. GitHub's good for that. Or, what's our mission? What's our vision? What's our core values? You have that in a doc, and people can, put their comments, and you almost can vote on things. And, it's just there's some great tools that help you stay organized and stay on the same page, even multiple time zones away.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned Trello. I certainly wouldn't be able to live without Trello. I do a lot of project management just across a wide array of companies and different verticals within different industries. And Trello is certainly my go-to for a lot of the management of different projects. What would you say is most exciting or most highly anticipated in Particl's roadmap during the first half of 2018 and then in the following half?
So the first half, the most anticipated thing for years has been this marketplace. So we've been talking about it forever. We get a lot of grief from other competitors that are, saying it's vaporware and this and that. And so this quarter one, we're going to be, releasing our MVP, our alpha Particl marketplace. And it's really close. We're starting to do some leaks. So that's the most anticipated thing I think everybody's just really excited about. And this is an alpha. It's an MVP. It's not going to be, all the bells and whistles, but it's a great proof of concept. It shows what we're trying to do. It's really hard to do what we're trying to do with privacy attached to it. It's at least, it's 10 times harder usually whenever you try to do privacy on top of anything. So that's probably the most anticipated thing. I would think everybody, probably 99% of people listening would say. Along with that, we'll have a beta version of it. So the beta version will have more features inside of it. So those two together are the highly anticipated. I think the latter half of this year, hopefully even before that, would be the addition of Ring CT on mainnet. So Ring CT is where you basically you make all your any private transaction would be unlinkable and untraceable. So ultimately, the full version of our marketplace, the full version won't be released until Ring CT is on mainnet, because we would use that for our escrow and different things like that. So ultimately, that main release would have Ring CT. So I think having Ring CT would probably be the next most anticipated thing. Right now, we have some researchers at New Jersey Institute of Technology overlooking it. They're kind of doing a high-level review of the tech and reviewing other projects. They're reviewing Monero's as well at the same time, because that's where we originally, that research is where we started ours from. That's going to be put into, we're going to take those recommendations and stick them into, modify whatever the code would need to be. We have Ring CT on testnet right now. That we've had that since the beginning, since July or so. And then that'll get another review, a code review, just of the code, an overview. And once that's all said and done, then Ring CT will be ready for mainnet. So ideally that would be, maybe the end of quarter 2 or quarter 3, potentially. We'll just have to see. But I think that would be really special to have Ring CT privacy on top of the most recent Bitcoin code base would be pretty cool.
Absolutely. I fully agree. So where do you see part in about 1 year from today?
About 1 year from today, I would like to see us having a really robust marketplace, something that's drawing communities from all over. Our first release is probably going to be geared towards people already in the space. Our beta release will probably be similar. That'll be probably the release where we'll start to get other communities involved, where people, like you asked earlier, people will be able to use their Bitcoin or Litecoin or Monero, whatever, in the marketplace. And that will have governance and stuff within it in the beta. I think by a year from now, we'd like to have something that has been thoroughly tested and used for at least half a year by people from all over, not just Particl users. And the marketplace is going to be constantly evolving. So the marketplace, I hope, is at that point. Particl as a whole, I'd like to see us have a developer kit where we could be seeing other development teams, hopefully a year from now, start to be building on Particl. I've thrown the idea around with the team about possibly creating a privacy grant, which would be a specific grant that the foundation maybe could sponsor, and we could be like an early kind of either have contests or be able to kick teams off that are working on privacy projects on the platform with maybe a seed fund or something like that to help kickstart their project. So I think that would be something pretty cool to be seeing. So hopefully seeing some other developers start to come into the Particl space. The part coin, I guess I would. It's been a crazy year last year. It was nuts to see just the valuations of projects going, especially from when we started Particl. Seemed like actually we probably started Particl at the exact worst time you could actually even start a project, because everything was starting to go crazy while we were starting to build it. But the Particl right now is about $25, and I think our valuation's maybe about 200 million. I could see us by the end of the year, this is just me speculating, I guess, but I'd like to see us maybe at around with having a marketplace that other projects are using and that kind of stuff. If we had a $5 billion, market value. I'm not sure. It's hard to say. It's hard even saying that number, but I would think like a $600 to $800, Particl, is probably doable at least. And, it'd be great to see it more, it's hard to say, but the coin itself, I think is going to be something where we have a low supply and, we've got a great use case for it. It's a project that's trying to bring other projects in. And I think it's got, a lot of intrinsic value to the token or to the coin. And besides just being a privacy coin. So, I don't know. It's hard to say where it will be, but judging by the way, if we have a year like last year, $5 to $10 billion valuation, that would put Particl anywhere from $600 to $1,200, which is crazy to think about. But I don't know. We'll have to see. I know we're just going to keep, we don't spend a lot of time speculating as a project. We're just trying to deliver, which is, hopefully our, year in review and what we've done so far shows that. But I think as long as we're delivering, as long as we're continuing to push, keep to our core values and the vision of building a trustless, decentralized economy, essentially on the Particl platform, I think, sky's the limit, I guess, for what part could be.
Certainly ambitious, but as you mentioned, it definitely seems doable, especially with everybody backing Particl and Partcoin. I noticed that you guys do have a huge community. I know that people can engage with you on Twitter at Particl Project, Particl Project. You're also on Reddit, YouTube, Bitcoin Talk, Slack, Telegram, Discord. It seems like a really large community, and that's great. I always love seeing when companies do really encourage so much engagement. It really builds up a lot of hype, and it helps get people involved. Even kind of like you briefly started to touch on involving other developers, maybe getting bounty programs going and things like that. Is there anything that you'd suggest for the listeners if they do want to engage with you directly, or if they want to reach out? Is there a specific avenue, or just really any of the channels?
I think really any of the channels, all of our channels you mentioned, Discord and Telegram and all that, all of them are linked. So if you're a Telegram guy and you all your channels you follow on Telegram, if you go to our Telegram, which should be Particl Project at the end, and you join the community and start talking, everybody in Slack, Discord, Riot, all those reach out to that same channel. So that's the nice thing about it is you are engaging all these other communities at the same time. So we have bots that talk back and forth. So I would think the general chat's a great spot to start. We have an email address on our website if you're interested, and we're always looking at people that want to get involved even on the development side. We're always looking for developers and junior developers, and that's on our website as well. Some of the roles we're looking for. So those are good ways. And then, we're actually, ideally would like to start doing some meetups and different things like that. We have a meetup set up in Zurich on the 24th, just in next week. And, so doing some face-to-face time since we're out there, we thought we'd crash the place and start, chatting it up with there's a big Bitcoin and Ethereum locals there. So hopefully get some good turnout for that. So, I think the best avenues probably are general chats. Our favorite app is the Riot. So a lot of our channels on Riot's listed there. I'll tell you the best way to do it, to get involved or to find out what those channels are is to go to our Particl wiki, which is particl.wiki. On there, you can find all our social channels and ways to get connected.
Perfect. Well, Paul, it sounds like the team at Particl, really, you guys have so many great things going on, and the movement's been wonderful so far. And I'm certainly following Particl and the Partcoin, and I wish you guys the very best of luck. So again, that's Paul Schmitzer, the Director of Operations at Particl. And Paul, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it too. Thanks so much for having me. And, it was great to be able to talk about, what we're excited about working on and stuff like that. So, it should be good.